Hi, I'm Len with Hobby Universe Outdoors, and today I'm going to be clearing out some brush and some smaller trees in preparation of installing some 4x4 posts in the ground behind my house. And there's actually a couple reasons I want to put these posts in. And the first reason, and the primary reason I first started looking at it, was that my wife has just purchased this, some kind of a plant. It's like a vine plant that climbs. I don't know the name of it. If I'll see if I can get that information before the end of the video, and I'll let you know what that is. But anyway, we want this plant to be able to climb, and it'll actually make its way up to the second story deck, which she thought would be pretty cool. So I'm going to get those in for her. But also, since these things are going to be located under the deck, I'm going to attach those to the deck for some added support. You know, as it's built right now, to me, it doesn't look adequate. You know, just looking at it, it looks a little bit funny, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. When we bought the house, I did have it inspected, and we were told it's fine the way it is. You know, it's not going anywhere. I would still like something a little more substantial or to reinforce what's already there. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get notified when I post a new video, and it'll also help me build my channel, which I really do appreciate. So this is the area where we're going to install the posts. And what it'll do is it'll allow me to, once the posts are installed, again, run slats across it. So that way the vine can climb up the side here. Once the posts are installed, I'm going to mount them to the face of the deck. And that'll give that added support that I was talking about. You know, these are the 4x4s. This is what's holding up the entire deck. And there's a total of 3 of them. I was told it was adequate. It's not going anywhere, but you know, I would have preferred to see 6x6s or even 8x8s. I just think it would have looked a little bit better. This looks flimsy to me, but should be solid enough. What I'm going to add here will just be insurance. Before I get started on that, I've got some stuff I got to get out of here. It's not too bad. I got this here, and then outside of the camera frame, I don't think you can see it, but I got a larger tree that's really close to the foundation of the house. I don't like that. I want to get that out of there, and some other weeds and some debris and stuff down here. So that's what we're working on. See if this thing's got enough weight to do what I want it to do. So this is something else I'm going to have to deal with. It's not going to be today or tomorrow. I'm hoping to get it done sometime this fall before the snow flies. But I've got this huge pile of logs, and it's, I'm going to say, at least 50 feet long. It actually goes all the way from where those weeds start, all the way to where the driveway ends. And it's just this huge wall of logs. And what I think the previous owners did was they brought them in and they were going to use them in their wood burner. They had one of those outdoor fireplaces for heat, and they took that with them when they sold the house. And we bought it a couple years ago. I started looking at this wood, and it's rotten. I mean, you can just pull chunks of it apart. It's not good for anything. Well, it's kind of hard to see, but right here, that's a big embankment. So I think I'm just going to take my tractor and push all of it over the edge and get it out of here. And that's where all the mice and chipmunks and stuff like to live. So I'm gonna get that out of here. I'll make a video when I do that. It might be fun pushing it over the bank. I've got the holes pre-marked on the ground where I think I'm going to want to drill down with my auger. But before doing that, I'm going to spot check one of the marks just to make sure it matches with the face of the deck. And to do that, I'm going to use this plumb bob. I'm going to drop it from the face of the deck. So the plumb bob is pointing at that first white dot that I made. And what that first white dot represents, the one is farthest that way, is where the face of the deck is straight down. So that matches up exactly where I thought it should go. And then there's another white dot just out from that 3 inches. That's actually where I'm going to drill. And the reason for that is the auger on my tractor is 6 inches in diameter. So if I come out 3 inches, that'll put the center of the auger directly in that spot, making a 6-inch diameter hole. And that'll put us out exactly where we need to be regarding the face of this deck. So we're looking good. one of the things I wanted to talk about was how this auger works and what these things here do. So this is the tip of the auger. This is what will get you started. It's got a nice little pointy tip on it, so that'll get you in the exact spot where you want to be, which is what I did over those little paint marks. Once you start rotating the auger, this will dive in pretty quickly, and then you'll get to these teeth. These teeth are what are going to do the majority of the cutting and dirt removal. They are removable. There's some hardware. You've got one here, but if they were to get damaged or over time they get worn out, if you're digging a ton of holes, you can get new teeth and replace those. And what you want to do when you're going down, you want to make sure you're going down at a slow rate. If you go too fast, this auger will actually screw itself into the ground without removing dirt. It'll just turn itself into the ground, kind of make threads in the ground. And that's not what you want. You're not trying to screw into the ground. You're trying to remove dirt. So if you lower it slow enough, giving these teeth time to cut the dirt and remove that soil, what will happen is they'll cut in, they'll remove the soil, and it'll travel up these flutes. And then in the video, you can see that I will occasionally pull the auger out of the hole while it's spinning, letting the centrifugal force kick that dirt off the flutes, and then I'll go back in for some more. For the purposes of what I'm doing here and the holes I'm digging, I want to make sure I'm down at least 3 feet. And that 3 feet will get me below the frost line. Where I live, the temperatures get crazy cold in the winter. The ground will actually freeze. And if you're not below that frost line, anything above it tends to move up or down. So if I put those posts in the ground and they were only 18 inches or 24 inches in, there's a chance when that ground froze, it could cause that post to move up or down. And we don't want that to happen, obviously, because it's going to be attached to the deck. And we want everything to stay exactly where we want it. So again, going down to that 3-foot level, we're going to be in good shape. Nothing should move ever. Before I set the posts, I like to rake all of the dirt away from the edges of the hole. That way, every time I go near it, I'm not kicking dirt down in there. And I also use a manual post hole digger to remove some of the loose stuff that the auger didn't get. You're not going to get it all with that auger. Actually, this one did pretty good. This is not bad at all. But get as much loose stuff out of there as I can. And now we're ready to set a post. So I know from ground level to the underside of the decking is exactly 8 feet. And I checked all 3 spots and it's consistent for all 3. So if I have 8 feet from there to the ground level and I want to be 3 feet down, obviously, I got to go to 11 feet for the length of my 4x4s. The 4x4s I bought are 12 footers. So I'm going to go ahead and remove a foot from each of those, and that should get me exactly where I want to be. Now I'm going to place the post in the hole. And when I do that, I want to be careful not to rub up against the side of the hole, knocking dirt down into the bottom. I want to keep that as clean as possible so I can maintain that depth. All right, that'll work. So the hole's a little bit deeper than 3 feet, and that's due to me going in with those manual diggers. Looks like I'm about 6 inches too deep, which I'd rather be a little too deep than a little too shallow. So I'm actually going to put some gravel in the bottom of that hole, get it to the elevation I need, and then I'll pour in my concrete and the water. And of course, it's starting to rain. It wasn't supposed to rain today. I got bags of cement sitting out in the yard, and actually it's just starting to sprinkle. I'm being a little bit dramatic, so hopefully it just passes over and it doesn't turn into anything. Now that I have the depth of the hole corrected simply by adding some gravel to the bottom of it, I'm going to add a bag of dry concrete mix, a 50-pound bag, to the hole around this post. And what that'll do is that'll hold it in place fairly firmly, but I'll still be able to move it a little bit. And we're going to make sure it's exactly plumb, front to back and side to side. Once I'm sure it's where we want it, then I'm going to add about a gallon of water to the concrete in the hole. The goal is to have the concrete about 3 inches below the surface. That way there's a little bit of room. You can add some topsoil and plant grass. In my case, it'll be stone, like a decorative stone, but either way, I'll be about 3 inches below the surface. So it was trying to rain a little bit earlier. Sprinkled. And that was it. So got away with one there. Actually looks like one bag is going to be about perfect for what I'm doing here. Okay, that looks good side to side. Check front to back. That's perfect. So front to back we're good. Double check side to side. That's perfect. So now all I have to do is add some water. And I'll stab it down in there a little bit. Break up any air pockets and make sure the water's everywhere I need it to be. Again, we're going to need about a gallon of water for a 50-pound bag. Just stab it down in there a little bit. And that looks good. So I'm going to give that a few minutes to soak in. It should suck all that water up no problem. Since I was in there monkeying around, I'm going to double check plumb. Making sure nothing moved. Yeah, we're good there. And we're good there. Height-wise, I'm happy with that. 1 down, 2 to go. I'm going to gain several more inches, I think. I'm going to get this loose stuff out of here and then measure it and see where we're actually at. 3 feet, just like that. Now we've got the second pole ready to go in. Hoping we're a little bit closer on the depth with this one. And we are. We're probably less than an inch low. And now we're where we need to be. I simply just moved the post around a little bit, knocking loose some dirt, just enough to fill the bottom of the hole. Got the elevation where I need to get it. Stay. Don't pull down and bonk me on the head. So I'll do the same as I did with the last one. Pour in a bag of dry concrete, get it perfectly plumb, hit it with some water, and we can move on to the last one. So I put a little bit of concrete in the hole. I'll move it around a little bit. And that should be enough to hold it in place. So I can check it with my level to make sure I'm not too far out of whack. Yep, we're good. That one's a little bit deeper. I'm actually going to have to add a little extra concrete to that one. Now for the water. Now I need to make sure that I am still plumb. Perfect. Right where we need to be. So the posts are in, the concrete is poured, that's going to cure. I'm going to let that go for a couple days. When I come back, I'm going to drill 4 holes in each 4x4, and then I'll use galvanized carriage bolts to attach these to the deck, giving me that added support I was talking about. But it'll also make sure these things don't move, because I'm being told this vine, whatever it is, I still owe you a name on that, is can get fairly heavy. So I'll run some 2x2s or 2x4s across so that the thing can climb up. And but we'll give this a couple days to rest, and it's starting to rain again, so I don't know. Mother Nature just wants me to be done for the day, so that's what I'm going to do. Who am I to argue? But we'll be back in a day or so. So I started to drill this other hole, and I noticed the 4x4 was moving around just a little bit. So I'm going to stick one of these carriage bolts through just to kind of hold it in place. That way I know everything will be aligned when I'm finished drilling all the other holes. Looks good. 12 more to go. Same as the last one. I'll stick a carriage bolt through. And that is it for boring holes. I didn't measure, I didn't mark, just kind of eyeballed it. Not perfect, but close enough for what we're doing. I don't know if you can see, but I have to hold the hammer up above this handle. I'm having issues with this sleeve on this hammer coming loose all the time. If you know of any tricks to get that to stay on, leave it in the comments, because it's a pain in my butt. I thought about using hairspray. So when I used to work on my own bikes quite a bit, and when I would put new grips on handlebars, I would clean everything really well and I would hit it with a lot of hairspray, which provided the lubricant needed to get the grip onto the handlebar. And then once it dried, it acted like a glue and it stuck on there. I tried that with this. It didn't work. I don't know if that's because it's plastic. But if you know of a trick, let me know. Just get them started by hand. Keep them from falling off. So I'll get these pretty tight, but with those 4x4s being new and still having some moisture in them, as they dry out, they're going to shrink a little bit. So I want to go through probably this fall and just double check all the hardware to make sure it's tight. And I'm going fairly tight on these because the way the carriage bolt works is it has a square under the head of the bolt, which I'll show you on the other side. But what happens is as you tighten it, it pulls that square into the wood and it holds it in place. Usually when you're tightening hardware, you have to get a wrench on the other end. But the carriage bolt, because it has that square, will dig in. So I want to remove one of the carriage bolts so I can show you what I was talking about with that square under the head. I've already got all these installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the nuts and screw it onto the end of the carriage bolt. That way when I hit it with my hammer, I'm not going to booger up the threads of that carriage bolt. That'll protect the threads. Otherwise, if I were to just hit the end of that, chances are I'd peen them over and then I wouldn't be able to get my nut on when I tried. Under the head, right there, you can see that square. That's what I was talking about. And when you pound it in, it'll dig into the wood and it'll seat itself. And then that way it won't wiggle around or spin while you're trying to tighten the nut on the other side. I'm going to be happy to get this project done. I prefer to finish something like this in one day. But as you saw earlier in the video, Mother Nature wasn't cooperating, and to be honest, I was pretty tired. It was really, really hot that day. I mean, today's still warm, it's like 85. But the day I was drilling the holes and using the manual post hole digger, it was in the mid 90s, really, really humid, and it just kicked my butt. So come back the following weekend, we're getting it wrapped up. Get everything all tight, like on the other two. Probably should reposition my ladder, but I feel like by the time I was done monkeying around doing that, I could have just been done. So just work through it. So when I originally started planning this out, I was going to use those wood slats. This is, I think it's called cattle grade or cattle fence or something like that. But anyway, I'm going to use this instead. And the only thing I'm going to need to do is it's a little bit too tall. I don't think I want it sticking up beyond because I feel like stuff's going to get stuck up in there. So I'm going to remove one section. So I'm going to cut all the way across and just make it a little bit shorter. Shouldn't be too hard to cut this stuff. It's not real thick. Not bad at all. To attach these panels to the 4x4s, I'm going to use these barbed staples, and these are meant to fasten fences to posts, so they are meant for outdoor use, which is why I got these specifically. The only thing is I got a giant bucket. I mean, this is an 8-pound bucket. I'm not going to use anywhere near this whole bucket. Just one of those items I guess I'm going to put on my shelf, and maybe someday down the road I'll need them. But it was the right part for the job, so that's why I got these. Have to see how this is going to work. Okay, that's got me pretty close. So I just moved the ladder with my hammer up on top. Not always a good idea. You're going to want to be very careful if you do something like that. Exactly, right? I did have a wrench come off a ladder once and beam me on the top of the head. Didn't really get hurt. Maybe my pride got hurt a little bit. So I don't have anything tight yet. I just have this up here loose. Yeah, so that's going to work. I'll just go down through and put in a whole bunch more staples, and this thing won't ever go anywhere. Just to give you an idea, I said they had barbs on, and that's what I was talking about. So once they go in, they're not going to come out very easily. Those little barbs are going to jam themselves into the wood, which is a good thing because, 10 years from now, I want these things to still be in there, and that'll help make sure that happens. Initially, I was going to go every other rung, but since I have a bucket with approximately 1 million of these things, I might as well do every rung. So when I put the clips in, I'm putting them underneath the horizontal bar. So I'm attaching to the vertical, but just underneath that horizontal. And what that'll do is that'll help hold it up. So now this bar is going to sit on top of the clip while this vertical one is held in place. Get another handful of these pokey little things. You know what? I'm going to throw them in here. That way I'm not getting stabbed every time. So we're going to do the same as before. Got one corner up, and that's going to kind of hold it in place. I can swing this end around, make sure it's nice and level. So I've got it all fastened. It looks good. The vine, I kind of wish it wasn't there prior to me doing this because I did step on it a couple times. I'm hoping it's not going to be too bad. Most of it looks pretty healthy, but I know there's at least one stem that I boogered up pretty bad. So other than that, I think we're looking good. I said I had about 1 million of these. I still have about 978,463 left. So I think I'm good on these for a while. Well, I think that's going to do it for this project. What is on my lens? This one's complete. Overall, I'm happy with how it turned out. Not only do I have a trellis for that vine to grow on, I also have some added support for that deck, if nothing else, to give me a little bit of peace of mind. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video from Hobby Universe Outdoors. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get notifications when I upload a new video, and it'll help me build my channel. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.